I'm Corbett Wall with USDA Livestock and Grain Market News, here with your weekly feeder and stocker cattle market summary for the week ending April the 6th, where we had feeder cattle and calves selling mostly $4 to $8 lower, and that was very predominant in the major markets and the direct markets, and it's sure that much lower. A lot of instances, mostly on lighter weight calves, selling as much as $15 lower, and in different sale barns it was either on heifers or steers or particular weights, but it's marked sharply lower. And being a market reporter, you always hear guys say, oh, it couldn't have been that much lower. Well, remember how sharply higher we called it on the way up to these market levels, and it's simple arithmetic. You take the prices that they brought last week and subtract the prices they brought this week. But it is sure that much lower, $4 to $8 lower. You know, a lot of averages coming in $4, $5, $6 lower on a big head counts. But you know, all the pressure came at the end of last week, not this past week, but the end of last week, and with that USDA crop report coming out and having significantly more planted acres on corn quoted there, but that was completely ignored, and all the attention was paid to the lower quarterly ending stocks there, and sent corn up the limit there last Friday. And then of course cattle are going to go down hard, and then this week was just a tough week overall for all publicly traded markets. In the bank deals and the stock market and all the financials and the commodities too were all just kind of under pressure all week long, and not so much on the corn, but just doesn't look like that corn's going to back up much until we get to the new crop. So about 80% different between old crop and new crop corn, but we've got a lot of cattle to feed before we get to the new crop. So all that pressure from late last week that didn't get felt yet was sure felt early this week. And I mean, first thing Monday morning, these yearling feeder cattle and those middleweight cattle that they're going to feed with were just for sure as much lower as they were all week long. And then we've got this continuing gloom hanging over the beef industry from the lean, finely textured beef that the media continues to have a fit about, but it's starting to kind of go away. You know, we had a major ground beef processor file for bankruptcy this week due to all the pressure and the lack of demand for the kind of ground beef that they produced, and it's just weighs on this cattle market. And then the fat cattle trade at the middle of the week, $3 to $4 lower, 122 to 123, $8 lower dressed, 193 to 194. The only thing that saved these feedlots was their positive basis being the difference between the cash price and the futures price, because you had the board down there around $1.18. That's a nice basis up to 122 or 3 on those hedged cattle, which you pretty much get to put that in your pocket or add it on to what you actually got. So that saved guys, but you know, a lot of these cattle in the feed yards are going to break even in the 130s somewhere, and I think a lot of them are hoping for cheaper feed, thinking we're going to plant a lot of corn, and we are planting a lot more corn, but we haven't seen any grain prices come back down yet. But it was sure tough around, not everywhere. Green City and Missouri, northern Missouri, and Bassett, Nebraska, near the Sand Hills, they both had big specials. A lot of times they do on the same week, but the big spring roundup specials. Green City featured a load of steers weighing 864 at 152. Can't call that any lower. Bassett had a load of steers with a thinner condition weighing 710 at 179. Monster price. They also quoted 46 replacement quality heifers weighing 700 pounds at $1.64. So those markets were not much cheaper. Yeah, you got a lot of farmer feeder demand in those markets there, but just all your feeder cattle were sharply lower this week, and the calves were maybe even more sharply lower because they're at lighter weights and higher prices, so you're going to see a bigger number on the lower. But pretty much these grass orders are filled. All the mainstream orders are filled. The Osage and the Flint Hill grazers, they've already bought all their cattle. They've been buying them since last fall, just knowing that the numbers are going to be short. And then now in the last week or two, we've got into calves that are not that great to turn out. You know, they're short weaned or not weaned. They're kind of fleshy. They're not those really good stocker cattle that we want. Those thinner cattle that have a lot of go to them. There's these soft, fat balling calves, and you turn them out in a big pasture, and they'll walk the fences and bawl and melt like a fudgesicle. So they're just not as attractive to the buyers, and there's not as many orders out there for grass cattle. Going to be some weekend warriors, guys with little acreages and stuff that wait till the weather really gets nice to fill in some of the places. But we're about out of cattle, and we're about out of orders, and it's a good thing that they started early. But this week's regional weighted averages in the north central states this week, an 8 to 900 pound steer average 142.37 compared to 146.88 last week and 131.54 a year ago. Down the south central states, 6 to 700 pound steer average 164.78 compared to 168.06 last week and 144.85 a year ago. Down the southeast, a little peewee steer weighing 4 to 500 pounds this week averaged 181.78 compared to 189.03 last week and 158.09 a year ago. That wraps up our market for this week. Everybody have a nice Easter. For more market information, check out our website at marketnews.usda.gov. And from the Regional Market News Office in St. Joe, Missouri, we'll talk to you next week.